off my feet and into the cool water. At 198 pounds in my small boat, little muscle or torque was needed to throw it around. I could still perform smaller, easier, low-scoring tricks. Just happy to be in the water and to be so close to meeting my son, I went out and I threw as many small moves as I could in 60 seconds. Little did I know that I would be taking over the first place position doing so. For me, this was my aha moment. If I focus on what's most important to me and not those around me, I will be my absolute best. By not compromising what is most important to me, I realize I will always feel successful regardless of where I sit on a podium. By constantly comparing ourselves to those around us, we fall into routines and lifestyles that might not allow us to reach our full potential as unique human beings. When confronted with it, it's easier to compromise our own happiness in hopes of pleasing others. I find there are more men than women in sports because women regularly get caught up in what people think of them to the point they forget their initial love for the sport itself. I find kids make bad decisions not because they are ill-intended, but because they care more about impressing others than standing up for themselves. How are we supposed to teach our kids to follow their heart when they watch us compromise our own happiness daily? How are we supposed to feel good, giving ourselves away to others if we are not truly happy? How are we supposed to be trailblazers, living the life that only we have dreamed of, if we are constantly spending time trying to fit in? Living without compromise is available to each one of us. If you find yourself working late and missing dinners with family, cleaning for hours but never working out, constantly pleasing friends and not taking time for yourself or significant other, then this is an important step for you. Create a list of what your top priorities are. If you live with others, make them aware of what this list looks like. It will help you stick to your guns when life tries to lead you away from what's most important. Here's an example of my own list. It'll show it on the screen when I get that together. 1, my husband and son. 2, my family. 3, kayaking. 4, working for my parents' company. And 5, exercising. Keep the list close to 5. 5 things allows your list to be diverse enough that you won't get burnt out on any one set priority, and you are consciously aware of what they are day and night. Your list should go in order of importance, and it should be how you want to organize your time. Looking back over your week, month, year, you will want to make sure that a majority of your time is spent working towards your 5 priorities. When taking time for these, you need to dive in and be 100% present to your priority. Yes, you have to grocery, visit the dentist, pay bills, and do other day-to-day actions that might not be on our list of importance, but they are necessities to life, and the weight of them is lifted when our days are mainly focused on what's truly important. By sticking to my list, I feel successful, focused, and satisfied. I know what I want to focus on throughout the day, and I work hard to make that happen. It can be tricky to balance your priorities, but if you continually spend time on them, you can even find joy in combining them. I want to spend time with my husband and work out, so I asked him to go for a run with me. I want to spend time with my son outside, but I still want to go kayaking, so I bring him on the water. We can always make time for what's truly important. Sometimes we just have to get a little creative. Like you, people's priorities can change over time. It's not a constant, permanent list. It evolves over time to accommodate your needs. If you are unsure where to begin, look back to your 10-year-old selves and guess what would seem important to you. I can imagine my list would include things like family, puppies, and ice cream, all which still bring me great joy today. So I challenge each one of you to go home, get out a piece of paper, write down what makes you happy. Stick it somewhere obvious to remind you constantly until living by it comes naturally. When life leads you away, revisit it and make any changes necessary. Living without compromise takes creativity, bravery, and the ability to stand up for what you believe in. And remember, don't compromise yourself, for you're all you've got. That's it so far.
Well done.
All right, let's start with you, Jill. give me a couple of comments that will strengthen her talk.
To start out with, I thought you covered your topic well. I liked the flow. I liked the little stories that you put in about, your own family and your current family. I thought your pacing was good. Something at the very beginning threw me a little bit, because when I heard you say without compromise, I think in your first paragraph you need to say without compromising yourself. Or if you said that, it didn't jump out at me. Because at first it was like, oh wait, you're just going to do what you want. Without compromise, me meant without negotiating with other people. And then as you went on, that became clearer. But it was a little distracting. While I was like, wait, what is she talking about? So I would just say something in your first paragraph about how you don't want to compromise yourself or compromise yourself away. Something like that.
Thank you.
And then the other thing, which I'm working on terribly myself, is just getting the inflection and flow so that it sounds like you're having a chat instead of giving a talk. But I know you probably just need more practice to get there.
I struggled a little bit attempting to show photos with that one. That I think if I was more organized with that, it would have helped a touch. But yeah, I'll keep working on that. Thank you. Alrighty.
Oh, and I loved your photos, by the way.
I tried. I was like, oh, I have 94 in my photos for the TED Talk right now. I'm guessing one every 30 seconds is a bit too distracting. One every minute, is that more appropriate? What do you think, Kat?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. It's really up to you. There might be places in your talk where you want to scroll through some of the images quickly, and then there might be a place where you'd like to just kind of set everyone's attention. It depends on what kind of rhythm section.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Susan, how about you?
Oh, I thought that overall it was very good. I did feel that there was a little bit too much abstract material at the beginning, and I noticed that my attention started to really pick up when she started saying something about my life, I did this and that, and again when she started talking about her family, my mother and dad. In other words, I think that the example of her life is the most powerful argument for not compromising, so that telling her story and making that sort of be the way in which the message is delivered is very important. Whenever it got into sort of abstract advice, I found my attention wandering a bit. So the story of her life is really amazing and very interesting. So that's my comment. I wouldn't. Jill actually already said a lot of things that I would have said, but that's what I could add.
Thank you.
Does that make sense to you, Emily?
Yeah, focus on tying all of it instead of towards the end. It moves away from my personal story and more into the message I'm trying to convey. But if I can personalize it more, I think that's basically what you're.
That's
comment.
Right. Yes. And let the lesson emerge from the story. Yeah.
Perfect. Written down. Thank you. You can be brutal, but you guys can. I'm not a sensitive person.
Basha.
I like it.
Yes. Yeah, that was great. That was really, really good. I love the image of the kayak on top of the car with the people going like this. And I wonder maybe that could be the very last image, because it's just so vivacious, and it's like, yes.
Yeah. I've got a lot from that photo shoot. I have another photo shoot coming up with more my family now that I'm married with my son. But that's my brother and I on the roof. But yeah.
I love that. I love everything about it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
I thought that was really good. I also found that at the beginning, like about the first quarter or first third, it was a little hard to follow what you were actually getting at. But
Okay.
then once you got into it, it was so good. And I just kept writing down all these different things about, embracing freedom and what makes you happy and society. I like that the phrase society's illusions when you were talking about your parents. I thought that was really strong.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So
I'm writing notes all over this.
Everyone.
Sorry if I don't look like I'm paying.
Everyone. Buddy, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. Please use the chat box. Please use the chat box to specific recommendations.
Uh-oh. We're losing you, Kat. We're losing you.
In for Emily, and I will do the same. Okay. Please use the chat box. Please use the chat box. Use what's happening with the speaker piece. Maybe. Oh. Can you guys hear me now? Now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Not well.
Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
I'm asking you to please use the chat box for your now. Susan?
Yes? Okay. All right. I'm going to be reading, so I probably will be looking down. My title is How Speaking American Can Help Save America. Right now, it seems like our country is more deeply and painfully divided than ever. I'm going to try to get you a... no, this is not it. Okay, can you see this? I just put a slide up, but can you see it?
No, you have to hit start screen share after you hit the green box.
Oh, okay, I'll see where that is. I'll look.
Left-hand side of your window.
Okay, yeah, I did hit that. Okay. Let's see, I think I'll do this one. Okay. Now, all right. Let me try that. Can you see it now? No. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see can you see a slide? It says Democrats and Republicans more ideologically divided in the past. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
But you can't see the slide.
Maybe we should just focus at the end, show a few of the slides, but just focus on the wording, just speaking. The slides aren't popping up because your mouse isn't over the slide itself.
Well, now it is. Does that help? It's in a PowerPoint format. I've got my PowerPoint up. All right. Well, I think I will just talk. Okay, now there's one other possibility. I have it in another form. Let's see if that would work. Let's see. Oh, I just suddenly saw something. Okay, let's see if that works.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to have to keep I think maybe the suggestion for me to, unless I could keep going down. Let's see. No. I'd have to keep rolling down, but it may work. Okay. All right. So why don't I start over? Okay.
Okay.
People probably wouldn't see this until I had said a thing or two. Let's see. Okay. How Speaking American Can Help Save America. Right now, it seems like our country is more deeply divided than ever. And here's a June 2012 Pew Research Center poll showing how much smaller the purple area of agreement seems to be today. Yet we are still one people. As Americans, we still share many of the same values, hopes, and dreams. I should have another, but I can't make it go down. How does this work?
Why don't you just work on give us the text, just speak it first, and then we can look at the slides.
All right, I'll do that.
It's going to be too hard to really listen with the distraction of trying to get the slides up.
Okay, fine. Can you hear me? All right.
Yes.
I'm going to start over again.
Thanks.
How Speaking American Can Help Save America. Right now, it seems like our country is more deeply and painfully divided than ever. Here's a June 2014 Pew Research Center poll showing how much smaller the area of agreement seems to be today. That's the purple area that you see there in the middle. Yet we are still one people. As Americans, we still share many of the same values, hopes, and dreams. And there'll be a slide here of Times Square people. We still have a shared story of who we are as a people when we are at our best. I call that the ideal American identity story. Here are a few pieces of that shared story with some key words that remind us of it. First, there's the American dream. The most basic American dream of who we are as a people is that we are the can-do folks who can solve our problems by inventing new solutions. Some of the other words that evoke this are: we do what works, we're optimists, we're practical, we believe in working for a better future. Then there's the American nation piece of our story. As a people, we believe in the rule of law, equal opportunity, freedom. Some of the other words that evoke that are democracy, fairness, human rights. Then there's a piece of the story I call free to succeed. That's about the idea that everyone in this country is free to actually get to the place where they can be their best and do their best work, make their dreams come true. Some of the other words or phrases that evoke this are: we can win by hard work, by showing grit, by coming from behind. Finally, oh no, not finally, this is the next one. Small town security. This is an important piece of our American ideal identity story. This is about our longing for small, safe, friendly, cooperative communities. Other words that bring that shared part of our American story to mind are clean, stable, cooperative, honest, orderly, doing the right thing. The next piece of our story I'll call on the road, because it's about our most common American cultural metaphor, which is being on a journey or on a trip or in some sort of vehicle that's conveying us on the journey or the trip. Other ways to remind people of it are to talk about moving forward. How often have you heard politicians say we need to move forward? Being on the move, being a mover and shaker, getting into the fast lane or onto the fast track. Today we need to remember and trust those shared values and goals. When we do this, we can begin to work together again. We Americans are practical, down-to-earth problem solvers. Those can-do people who like to try new ways of doing things and solving our problems. If we can connect with each other at that practical problem-solving level again, we can help our country get back on the right track. An important way to start reconnecting again is to use words like the ones I just mentioned in conversations with the people around you. I call that speaking American. Reminding folks that we are one people with one big story is an important way to help us see each other as partners in working to solve our problems. But what if you're afraid to talk to other people or strangers or folks who might not agree with you? Well, there's a good story about solving that problem too. In 2010, some Americans who were worried about the divide in our country started a new project called Living Room Conversations. They realized if they could bring people together for private conversations in a comfortable living room in someone's home, it might help. Sorry. They created a safe, respectful process that helps guide conversation about a controversial subject in a fruitful, cooperative direction. Participants get new, practical ideas from hearing each other's viewpoints and experiences in a safe, friendly setting. People who have tried living room conversations are very enthusiastic about it. Everyone from conservative Tea Party leaders to independent voters say the same thing. Mark Meckler, co-founder of Tea Party Patriots, says, "I am an enthusiastic champion for living room conversations because over the last several years, I've come to realize that the biggest divide in our country is not between the citizens of one party and another, but between the citizens and the elite in Washington that are calling the shots." Jacqueline Salat, who is president of an organization of independent voters called independentvoting.org, says living room conversation brings Americans together to create new kinds of political culture, something we desperately need. Of course, when people gather together in living rooms, it's very important for them to use words that remind them that everyone is part of this one American people with one big story about who we are when we are our best. Even if you can't set up a living room conversation anytime soon.
Comes on, but it was sketchy right next to the router. This is too far.
It's okay. Keep going, Susan.
Okay, even if you can't set up a living room conversation anytime soon, you can keep in mind the fact that there is still a common American goodness very much alive today beneath the media hype and political posturing about how different we are. You can use those American story words to help create common ground wherever you are. So no matter where you are and what you're doing, you can help save America by speaking American. I have an example of what I mean. The phrase gun safety. The phrase gun safety expresses a widely shared American value, safety. All responsible people want to be safe in handling guns. And when people talked about better gun safety laws, almost everyone understood that it meant doing something to stop the epidemic of insane gun massacres that plague our country these days. In fact, the phrase better gun safety law started in mid-2012 after a horrible massacre during a religious service in Wisconsin. By December 2012, the phrase gun safety, applied to the idea of better background check law, had gone viral on the internet as a way to talk about that kind of a law. Soon, almost all conservatives, hunters, gun owners, and liberals agreed that we wanted our neighborhoods, shops, schools, and other institutions to be better protected from crazy gun violence. At one point, there was 92% public agreement with the idea of having better background checks to stop crazy people from getting guns in the first place. Today, even though we don't all have the better gun safety laws we need yet, the phrase gun safety is very much alive because it evokes a common sense American idea. This example shows that most Americans can agree on ways to solve our common problems if we use words that evoke our common values. We Americans can come together again as a people to solve our problems and get our country back on the right track. Having safe, honest conversations with each other about smart, practical ways to solve our problems will work. Using respectful language that evokes our shared values is the first step in the process. That's why I say speaking American can help save America. And if we can save America, maybe we can help save the world too. Okay, so now I can try to show you the slides. Looks to me like I dumped them. Oh no, here it is. Okay, here's no. Okay, I'll have to go back to the screen share, and this one. There we go. So I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Hello. Okay, that's the first slide, the one about the divide. The next one is I don't have yet. It's a long story. I'm having a terrible time with tech stuff. This would be a picture of Times Square, which is about, lots of American people, and that's kind of a quintessential American gathering place. Then the next 5 slides are going to be variations of this with real pictures and more language. I'll give you a sample of what it would look like. It should be here. Yeah, this is dividing them up and then into pieces, and I probably will try to find a picture for that, although I really like that icon for that piece. And so each slide, each of those elements that I mentioned would have its own slide. And here's the others. Where is it? This is the other slide that I used in some of my PowerPoints now, but I'll be replacing that. Then we've got coming up something that is a problem, which is that I have tried to contact Living Room Conversations for permission to use material. These are just screen grabs from their website, and I don't know if they're going to let me do it, and I haven't been getting any feedback. So I have another vehicle to try to contact them. And these two slides are also from their whoops, and there's one missing. It should be in there, but it's not there. From their website. Okay, so here's the other one. And of course, there's a whole problem because these are screenshots, and I'm sure Jacqueline Salad is looking pretty funny in there. She wouldn't like how that makes her look. All right, then the next one is a poll. And I was working on this and wasn't finished tinkering with this slide, as you can see, but it does point out the 92%. And then another picture, which would probably be the other picture of Times Square. I found 2. And then the last one, which is a bad version of a NASA shot for the Earth. So that's the set of slides. I hope that you were able to see it. Let's see. So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing now with that. And can you, and I see, okay. All right. So now, what's next, Kat? Let's see.
Kat, can you hear us?
Kat?
It seems like she went off. This is Basha talking. I'm not seeing any. I could hear the talk, but can you see me still?
Yes.
Yes.
We can see you, yep.
Oh, okay, because I'm not showing that I'm on there.
Okay, we can see and hear you.
Okay. So, should I just go ahead and give some feedback?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, Susan, that was good. I wrote in the chat box that the whole first part of it, to me, sounded very cliched. I'm sorry, but it was like all that language, like when you say free to succeed, all of that stuff, it's like, oh yeah, but. I mean, there's so, I don't know, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. But what I found interesting was the idea of the living room conversations, because I'd never heard of that, and I don't know, I don't know how the rest of you feel, but it seems somehow like if you could focus on that idea, how do you organize one, how do you set one up, what are some things that have come from that, to focus on that instead of that broad American cliches at the beginning. I had a hard time with that.
Okay, thank you. I have some comments, but I'll wait.
You want to go for it, Jill?
I have a couple of things. So I thought that you should start out with something more personal also, sort of like Basha said. And I thought, like, what if you started out with a statement like, what if we could have, with the line you used later, which was, what if we could have safe, honest conversations that will work to help America great again, or whatever, to start out with that at the very beginning. And then say, well, there's a group doing something called living room conversations, and here's what they've been doing, and give an example. And you don't actually need their permission. You could just show a photo of people in a living room talking.
Yeah, that has occurred to me. I'm figuring that if I'm not getting feedback from them, I would just have to, do it.
About their work without needing.
In my case, they can't stop me from doing that.
Exactly. So to start out that way, some lists, the coach I'm working with said try to take out all the lists you can. So listing some of the words that people associate with American, to find a way either to put a slide for each topic or to keep the list really short, because lists, people lose track from the beginning to the end. I think that your slides of how people have separated, did more to center and separated out, I think you need to explain that a little better, and I think that would be better as 3 separate slides instead of 1 slide. So when you say, this is what we looked like in 1994, this is what the red is, this is what the blue is, this is what the purple is, however you want to say it. Then this is what we looked like, I didn't catch the middle year, and now look where we are. No wonder it's so hard for people to sit and talk to each other. And the only other comment I had was, as a psychologist, I don't like the word crazy. So you said to keep crazy people from getting guns, and I would say like the wrong people from getting guns, or, mentally ill people from getting guns, which I actually have an issue with personally, but you don't have to agree with that, because it's hard to define. So I would somehow go more with keep guns out of the hands of people who shouldn't have them, or think about that a little more, how you want to say it.
The thing that resonated with me the most was when you said small, safe, friendly neighborhoods, because that brought it down to something very tangible instead of dealing with all the huge, this is America, rah-rah stuff. It made it real somehow to me. All the other were just, I keep using the word cliches, but they really were. But I like that idea of dealing with the neighborhood.
Yeah. I thought the general talk and the message and everything was really strong, and I agree with what you're saying, and I would love to see, obviously, the American people speak more American. I'm not from the South. I live in the Southeast United States in the Bible Belt, so for me, your talk really resonates with me, for example, because I don't sit down and have strong conversations with the locals here about a lot of things that are important in our community that, to me, would be a good starting point. The things I don't like about my community, I could probably help fix if I was willing to sit down and speak to, the factory workers that work in my parents' company here and stuff like that. If I just sat down and spoke with them, I think that we could help fix and save America, like you've mentioned. I do think for me, I was able to see that if we narrowed it down to just your small community, your county, your area, it made me feel a little more empowered afterwards when you did resonate with your community instead of America and American necessarily. I think that if you can maybe go on that a bit more about how to fix America starts at your doorstep, and it's just you and your neighbor, you know, the chain reaction there of just, you know, small groups getting together, like small areas, passing it on type thing, I think was the only thing that I thought could be more, I felt more empowered by that than when we were talking about America as a whole more often. So I guess my biggest thing is that if that was the part that resonated with me, it was a really small part of it, and I think that that could be developed a bit more. You know, just my friend next door, that would be the, you know, my starting grounds.
Along
like
those
I said, a
lines,
chain reaction thing.
Along those lines, I think the most important point, again, that comes out of your talk is that we have to learn to talk to people who don't necessarily agree with us, whether it's our next door neighbor or anybody else in our town, and that starting in the living room and knowing like what language to use. To me, that's the most powerful part of your message and call to action, because people start to talk about a contentious subject and they just start yelling at each other, and that's what you're talking about stopping.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. Yes.
Could you say that again? I'm not quite sure. Could you back up just a second and just say what it was that you agree with? Sorry, I got distracted. Can you hear me?
I agree with the whole idea of trying to make it more personal and more local, like literally dealing with your neighborhood.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's very strong. I mean, I had never heard about this idea of living room conversations, and I'm fascinated by that. But I got lost in all the first part of it.
Mm-hmm. What would happen if I were to reverse it, to start talking about the problem and have it be focus on the local, but then talk about using the language? You see, one of the things that's a problem for me in this talk is that the work that I usually do with the Metaphor Project is to teach progressives how to talk to mainstream Americans. So that's where you're getting the cliches. And I know that liberals don't and progressives don't like cliches, but one of my jobs is to teach progressives how to use the cliches of the ideal American story to get their message across. And the good example is...
Why don't you say that?
Well, because I have gotten the sense that this is an environment where I can't really talk about that. I can't talk about my book. I can't talk about my project because it's political. It's a very, very political project. So I have doubts about whether I actually should be doing this doing this talk, because it's hamstringing me to not do that. And to do that, I break the rules of TEDx, which is that don't talk about politics.
But I don't think you have to bring it up in terms of progressives or non-progressives. I think you could just talk about different kinds of people.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all you're really talking about is people from different, it's not, progressives aren't only politically progressive. So to just say some people want to talk about things this way, other people want to talk about things this way, but we're all people and we all should be able to find a common language. And you're talking around politics, but you're not making it, everything is political, so, and you should not give a talk because it has political implications, but the politics of it don't have to be the direct message. Did that make sense?
I'm getting a little sense of what you're talking about, yeah. But I'd like to go back to this business of the cliches. That's the absolute core and essence of what I teach. That to find ways, and the gun safety example is designed to make that point. About safety is the phrase that made all the difference. When I started it on Twitter, it was originally, say, better gun safety law, not gun control. Americans don't like control. So that's an example. And many people on the left don't understand how important how much difference a single word can make. So, and I think that this is so you can understand my frustration. I've been feeling very, very frustrated about this talk because it is so different from what I usually do.
But Susan, you just said it right there. That last sentence that you said was very touching to me. It's what you do, and it's not wrapped up in all this other language.
But that's what I'm teaching. That's what I do. I teach people to use that language.
Well, then I think your talk needs to focus on that instead of being so abstract. I think you could even just give that one example of gun control versus gun safety.
Mm-hmm.
I think somehow you need, it needs to be simplified and more personal and more direct, and don't worry so much.
Well, the other thing is that I have a lot of examples that I usually use in a talk, but they're political examples. They have to do with things like saying, play by the rule, saying, well, example from 2010 when I floated something out saying, say rules, not regulation, and had to do with the financial regulation bill. Now, all my examples are political examples, except the gun safety one, which is pretty much more generic.
Well, it's all marketing, isn't it?
Pardon?
In a way, it's all marketing.
Yeah,
we buy food because it says, like, butcher's choice, when it might not mean anything. I mean, the talk, Speaking American, everything from fixing and everything is everything's marketed in a way to make us lean one way or another. It's just the wording that we use to encourage people to lean a certain way. So, I mean, your talk basis is just, I mean, you can use examples through basic marketing of why we lean towards buying McDonald's, or why I mean, there's just so many different ways that you could tie in just how we, as people, are easily persuaded to believe or lean towards certain things just by the wording that's used on the box, just by the wording that's used on a sign. Those aren't political at all, but it's saying the exact, to me, it's saying a very similar thing, just how changing the words that we use and how we communicate with each other and how we feel and the things that we do based off of the wording around us. Like I said, signs, everything, they're all, to me, they all speak American. Obviously, we're a target group. We're the largest consumers, and that's just an example to me of how you could possibly tie it in without going political.
Maybe you could even use some funny examples like French fries, where no one else calls French fries but Americans. So I think I would challenge you to think, almost step back and think linguistically, and to come up with, I mean, your concepts, so to come up with non-political examples or words that are used politically, like honest, and to give an example, not necessarily involving a politician, but, the used car salesman. Because, a lot of it is sort of marketing and linguistics. You're just applying it politically. So your point is that you want people to think about these words that we all actually have a lot of common ground on, to talk about political topics, but you don't have to use political examples.
I think that's a good idea. I'm sorry, but I have a meeting in a few minutes, so I'm going to have to go. I'm very, very grateful for all of you, for the four of us today.
Thank you.
Like this, and congrats to both of you for giving your presentations today, because it's hard and it's a lot of work, and I really congratulate you on this, and you really come far. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to have to sign out. So stay in touch, any of you, and we'll see you next month.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.